Hello everybody. This is a follow-up on my foundation repair on my home, and everything's in pretty good shape now. So I was able to get the rotten sections of railroad tie out of there, and I laid cinder block in there. 2 courses of this style of cinder block here. It's solid blocks. I call them half blocks. So I have 2 courses of those to fill that gap. Total of 15 blocks. So there was 2 rows of 7.5 blocks across there. And what I did was I glued them in instead of using mortar. I didn't really have any space for mortar. I used this Loctite construction cement. It worked very well. This stuff is ultra strong. I really like it. I've used it for other things, and I like that stuff as much as, or actually more than, liquid nails, in my opinion. So what I had to do though was lift the house a little bit in order to so I could set the weight of the wall back down on the blocks. And I used 4 of these screw jacks, and then I had a scissor jack like you use on an automobile, which I ruined that in the process, and so I throw it away. And once I had those under there across that 10-foot stretch, I couldn't quite get it high enough. I got it so close, couldn't get that last little bit. So I went and got a 12-ton blackjack hydraulic jack, and even that was under some tension before I got the wall up. But I did raise it up just enough to slip the blocks in, glue them in place, and then I sealed them with a above/below grade sealant designed for the purpose. And so now I'm going to insulate with some foam sheets across there. And what I've got going for that is, over on the workbench, we're all set up here. I've got some of these foam blocks that I picked up from the local building center. They were throwing them out. These are the EPS style, expanded polystyrene, and apparently they were used as fillers in shipping. But I got a couple of these blocks that they were tossing, and I did test them. I want to waterproof them because the EPS will take on moisture. It doesn't permanently retain moisture, but I didn't want to take up any moisture. And since so many things damage EPS, I did a couple of tests here with this leak stopper rubberized roof patch, and then I used some Henry wet patch roof cement, and then the dry lock, which is the concrete and masonry waterproofer that I used on my foundation over there. And I tried some of each on the block here, and none of them damaged the block at all. This was already a damaged corner. And here's where the dry lock is, the white dry lock. So now what I want to do is slice 2-inch blocks out of these EPS blocks. And so I've set up hopefully a cutter here. I'll show you how that works. I don't know if you can see that wire across there. And I've got that stretched tight. And I'm going to apply some electricity to that to heat it up. The goal is to be able to push this block through there and just slice a nice clean cut across there. The way I've done that is I took just a piece of scrap 2x4. It was part of a pallet, and I just clamped it to my bench here, and then put a hook into it, and we're at 2 inches high off the bench right here in the center part of the hook. And then on the other side, same thing. I clamped a piece of pallet that I cut up, and in this case we're 2 inches off at the bottom of that hook, and I've added some weight hanging off of there, and that's because when you heat up this wire it expands, so you've got to have a way to take up that slack when it heats up. So I've got 12 pounds hanging off of it. I started out with just this little bell weight, which is 5 pounds. It wasn't quite enough, I don't think, so I added 7 more pounds. Those are weights that I use with a power hacksaw that I have, but they work good for this sort of thing too. So I've got some pretty good tension across there, and it should take up any slack when that heats up. The type of wire I used was nichrome, 24 gauge nichrome wire, and they use that in things like toaster ovens, toasters, and hair dryers, things like that. So it's designed to heat up, and I'm powering it with an old battery charger. A really good friend gave me this, Bob, years ago. And what's nice about this 12-volt battery charger is it's got 2 controls. It's got a rough control, low, medium, high, and then it's got a fine tune, which is also low, medium, high, and that allows you to dial in a certain amount of current, and so that's helpful here. I've hooked it up with some thermostat wire, or actually I think this is doorbell wire, which is 20 gauge. So I've got that hooked up to the leads coming off of the battery charger, and we'll give it a try here. We'll flip this on, and I've got this nice amperage gauge here. You can see it's barely drawn any amperage, so I'm actually going to take the fine tune, go up a click. There we go. So now we know we're producing some heat in that wire, and let's go over and see how that works. Give it a second or two to heat up, and then let's see if this is going to work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film this very easily. Oh yeah. Slow but steady. I'm just keeping steady pressure down onto the surface of the table here. And scooting that right on through. I don't know how well this is showing up, but it's definitely cutting through the styrofoam. And voila, there we go. Turned out that works good. So I got me a nice 2-inch piece of styrofoam. I'll keep slicing that, get several more, and then I got another block the same size, and then we'll waterproof them. And I haven't decided which one. I'll probably use the Henry, and I'll thin that out because it comes pretty thick. I'll probably thin that out with some mineral spirits, and yeah, I think that's this one here, this test here. This was a lot thicker. I almost put it on with a putty knife, but I had thinned out that Henry's with some mineral spirits. So that's what I think I'll use once I get all those sliced up. So anyway, there you have a workable styrofoam cutter. So we'll just keep working away here. Love you all.